Call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have an agenda in front of us this morning and a few changes. Laura Taylor will not be present. Steve from the Highway Department will be inserted under 5A. He'll be 5B, discussing Albany Road. And then 5C is going to be our edit funding and where it currently stands from our joint meeting. Any other additions, modifications? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the agenda as modified.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Becky got three. First one up.
I think she said someone else in her place.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
Browning.
I'm filling in for Becky this morning. I know that she'd sent out her authorizing resolution to all of you. It's time for the grant cycle for 2026, and it's just a resolution stating you would like us to continue public transportation in Perry County. It's not a commitment at this point, it's just your desire to have public transportation here, and we're just asking you to sign it.
And that's for a federal grant that
Right.
makes you eligible
Right.
in the event they provide those.
Yeah, then the next steps will go through for funding.
I'll make a motion.
I second
This is
that.
the same thing we did last year, so, yeah. No other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll get signatures and I'll send them via email to you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Gary Greibel.
Morning.
Morning.
My name's Gary Greibel from Waupaca Foundry. I'm here to talk about a few things. Some we've already talked about, but I want to see where we're at. The first one being the striping of the road that sits in front of the industrial park.
Steve and I have had that conversation now for how long? And
I brought it up in July of '24.
exactly. And at that time, Steve had found somebody that would do it for $1,000. And then when we told them to do it, they backed it, what, to 3,000? 3,000, okay. He's been waiting for other quotes, correct? All winter. But I told him just at our last, when we made an award, we're repaving old 237. And it has striping included, correct?
Yeah, there'll be striping on old 37 and old 237 be right here close.
Right. So the intention is we're gonna chase down that striper.
Okay.
And get him to stripe that road.
The
That's-
previous intention was when they did Brushy Fork, Troy Ridge, and we're going to try to get it in at that time.
There was no striping on that, is there?
That was not an official discussion. That's what I was.
Yeah. But that's our intent right now is to get whoever's gonna stripe that, CNR Construction, that's part of their bid. We'll have a striper in to do that work.
And that
So-
should be within the next couple of months, right, Steve?
Yes. Hopefully so, yeah.
Has the state approved our contract yet or not?
It's, they've got it now. We're waiting on them to get the paperwork back to them.
Okay.
And besides just striping, do you know if the lanes are going to be marked with the arrows and the stop lines, or are you just going to drop that stripes?
They marked it like it is with the arrows.
Okay.
It really needs it because it's so dark right in there.
Yeah, when I come to you in July, I seen it coming, and with the harsh winter we had, the number of times that road was plowed, I'm actually getting complaints from trucking companies and employees as well. So I told them I'd come and visit y'all.
So we haven't forgot it, it's just taken a lot longer than we ever anticipated.
But this is gonna be a blessing here because they're already gonna be
Well, we're gonna get them here, we'll get them down there then,
Okay.
because it's been a real,
pain.
I understand, I'm quoting. So my next one, I don't know where to go on this one, so I'm coming to you guys first. So the industrial park sign that sits out front by the highway is only half lit. And some people may think that's a little thing, but the truckers use it for an identifier as they're approaching us. Keeps them from driving down Sigmund Road, which takes them into a mud field. And just the look of it. I want our sign to be fully lit. I know who I used to contact in the past. I don't know who to contact now. So that's why I'm here bringing that. So if you tell me who to contact or
We'll look into
who will
that.
maintain it on their own. So,
Well, let us look into that and we'll get back with you.
my next one, at the annual Perry County Development Corporation meeting, they deemed our industrial park and the one where ATTC sits as the only state viable locations for expansion. That was discussed at that annual dinner. So I just want to know what we as a county are doing to promote those two areas. Are we looking at improvements? Are we looking at highway signage? Are we looking at grants? I'm sure it'll be a matching grant in one way, shape, or form. Again, I used to know who to go to on that. I don't know.
Well, our LJ Solutions, Jonathan, we can get you, has he spoke with you or your company at all locally?
Yes, not.
He has not.
Okay,
We will
we
get
will
him to
make sure he
contact
gets
you.
with you.
He
Jonathan
is, I
Blake.
know, he's reached out, he's had a meeting with the commissioners, the council, he's reached out to the city mayors. But we'll get him on your list.
Now, I do have a separate meeting with him on the 22nd with a different entity I'm involved with here in the community. So we can carry on that conversation after that meeting, or he can contact me separately. He does have my email. I literally got an email from him this morning.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So, but yeah, looking to see what we're doing to make it more viable to bring in more business.
and that's good.
Yeah. I'm not worried about competition. I'm worried about community viability and community strength and
Right.
community longevity. And with that, my last one is, what is the status of getting a visitor center with somebody in it that says, welcome to Perry County, how can I help?
That would be with the CBB.
I think,
Well, the executive director is a county employee, right?
I don't believe it's gonna be.
Okay. I know this is all in the works. so
Yeah,
I'm
this is
I'm literally tired of waiting because I've been to the CBB and I heard all this
And
and I
this-
heard all that, so
this-
here I am today.
This is what Andrew is working on right now to get a contract put together for them. And this is gonna be an independent contractor with this individual who's gonna provide services.
So where do I go next?
They chose to do this. Okay. I think you can go to the CVB. Let me get you a little background on that.
I appreciate that.
The CVB in the past has operated the facility down there, and they had a director and they had a person that I think spent most of their day there. And Stan, correct me, you're on that board if I'm incorrect there, but I'm thinking they sold in the neighborhood, gross sales through that facility were $15,000 annually. That's gross.
Okay.
The cost of operating it, substantially more than that.
Mhm.
So the CVB wanted to take the initiative, this is that I'm reading between the lines, of promoting the county more so than that one facility down there taking all of their resources, for such small returns. And what was, one of the things that's ironic about it is during Schweitzer Fest, they'd close down for a week. And the thought was that's when you get more traffic, would be during Schweitzer Fest when people from outside come in and then the doors were closed. So they approached it in a different way, thinking that we need to promote more activities, more things to come visit. We have Holiday World that provides huge volumes of people that if we can get them into the county. Initially, if we can get them in here, maybe they'll have a positive response. Maybe they'll consider relocating here. That puts us all back to the growth aspect of it.
Well,
And that's kind of
a
a
form of
impact.
economic development, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think that if you can see that by some of the other antique shops and things in the neighborhood, it's hard to staff them full-time and probably even break even. So I think if the real mission of the community is that facility and that stay open, then probably it needs to be similar to how the hospital operates with their gift shop out there. It's an organization, it's a volunteer organization, and that's what they do. I think that's a more viable way to see that happen.
So my next stop is the CBB.
I mean, you can talk to them, sure,
But
they should,
it's just been sitting there a long time with nothing moving forward.
right.
And I know there's behind the scenes work that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
So,
They just simply, they found that it was taking so much of their resources, it wasn't leaving, opportunities elsewhere to promote the entire county.
Okay.
And whenever it had such a minimal amount of gross sales, they looked at it and they go, well, we're spending all our effort here with not enough traction. So
Dan, have they hired an executive director yet?
close,
Thursday.
if Andrew gets the contract completed.
Okay.
And they have to have a chance to go through it and make sure they got everything. He's working on it right now, Stan, but I want him to get it to you so you have time to read it.
Yeah,
So you're comfortable with the contract that he drafted,
Mhm.
okay,
so,
yeah. It's
well,
coming pretty soon, but, we are in the business of promoting tourism,
Yes.
and that's what the CVB will be doing. And we want more signage, we want more signage out 64, pointing to Tell City and Perry County area, and it takes, we'll only meet once a month, so it's not a paid board, so a lot of times, you don't have everybody there either, but.
I understand that. I'm on several other people.
Yeah.
When is your next meeting?
We're getting there. I have some thoughts in my mind
Okay.
of the direction I want to go, but I'm only one person on that board.
Understand.
When is your next meeting, Stan?
Thursday.
Thursday.
and I think they're
At what
also
time?
they've reached out to the Hoosier National Forest to try to get something, working with them to promote it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I can make the Thursday meeting, but I will follow up with them. One reason I bring it up, a long time ago when Wapaka was looking for a location, it literally boiled down to who they talked to. They liked the people they talked to, they liked the friendliness of the people they talked to, and they picked this location over Warwick, over Davies, over Hancock, because of the people they talked to. I just think it's important. And that's why I'm here almost 30 years later.
And I think you're spot on with that same concept. The idea is again, if we can bring people to visit our community, no one ever moves here without first visiting, just like the Foundry. They visited. And then what they need to have is a positive acceptance in the community and a response. So that's one of the things that the CVB is looking to initiate and to make a bigger net to bring more people in to have these opportunities. So hopefully they can succeed in it.
We are also looking to get our own website where,
Okay.
and instead of going to the Big Perry, you have to click on several things before you get to CVB. And we would like to promote more in our own website,
Right.
so.
Okay. All right. So to recap my notes, should see striping in a couple of months.
Yeah, we're gonna get that. I mean,
We're getting real
that's,
close now.
we're gonna get that
24.
done whenever they get these roads.
Steve, do you happen to know what road they're gonna start on when they come in?
Well, I think they'll pave and then they'll come in, Becky, and then stripe everything. Am I not right? Once they get it all paved.
Okay.
So it'll be a couple, 2 or 3 months, I'd say,
But
Gary.
when they come in, we'll make sure they get down there.
All right, appreciate that. And who do I need to follow up with the sign?
On the what?
On the industrial park
On
side.
On
highway
the sign, let us see who might service that sign. I don't know what kind of condition it is. Is it still, has it ever been switched to LEDs? Does anybody know? It should get away from fluorescent and the balances and all that. It's a maintenance nightmare, and the modern signs
Oh, I
don't
get
do
it.
that.
I get
So
it.
we may need to approach that sign by finding an electrician that'll restructure the interior part of it. The outside, I guess, is acceptable. It just needs to have a
Yeah,
light.
what was damaged in the storm last fall.
So it just needs to be, it needs to be modernized.
Right, yeah.
And
So right now, about a
because,
third of it's lit.
and what'll happen is you'll either lose a bulb, you'll lose a ballast, you'll lose, it's a nightmare
I understand.
trying to maintain it. So it needs to be changed back into something that actually is not a service.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing in our
But-
facility.
We'll look into it.
Okay. All right. And then the gentleman I have a meeting with
Jonathan
him
Blake.
on
Jonathan
the
Blake.
22nd, so combining that, or are you gonna tell him I wanna talk to him as well?
Well,
We can get hold of him.
Yeah, I'll send him
Like
a-
speak to him afterwards.
do you want him to call you? You want him to email you?
Doesn't matter.
You tell me which way you want him to contact you, and that's what we'll do.
You can email me to see if he wants to meet in addition to the other meeting I have on the 22nd, or if he wants to meet separately and tour the facility. It's totally up to him.
Okay.
It's very nice, gentlemen.
Never met the man. All right, I thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Molly?
There's our girl Molly.
How we doing?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful. I have handouts for you all.
Thank you.
My name is Molly. How do you nice to meet you?
Nice to meet you, Molly.
Oh, you're, well, there's
Oh,
more.
there's more here. Okay.
There's more to this.
Okay.
I just went ahead and gave you
That's good.
the Fredericks and the Valley quote, and then my quarterly. So we'll start with, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you this year.
Thank you.
We have had some maintenance gremlins show up in the building. We knew this was gonna happen with the building being shut down for the years that it was. And now we're essentially 2.5 years into operation, and I feel like we've been fairly lucky with equipment so far until now. Fredericks handles our boiler situation as Randy Cole has came out before and assessed the situation. So this was more or less an emergent situation. The hot water heater went out. We kind of knew it was going there, but we were gonna see the water heater till the end. And I came in and water was everywhere. So I called Ed with Fredericks. He came out, assessed it, and said it's done. So I understand that was an emergent situation that had to be fixed immediately or operations were gonna be shut down. And I had a full house of animals, so that's what we had to do, unfortunately. So I'm here today to get that approved so we can get Fredericks paid for the water heater.
Make a motion.
I think that's on our agenda already, Chris, isn't it included in your?
Yes, we have it.
Yeah.
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 She just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I've got it on the claim docket to be paid
Okay.
today.
Okay,
Just to clarify this a little bit, it's not just a normal water heater.
No,
The volume of hot water that they use to wash the kennels and sanitize everything within that system, it's looped into a boiler system. is
it
what
also
is.
heats the floor.
Yes, and so that's why, it's not, we're paying this kind of money just simply for a water heater. And I think I sent an email to both of you back whenever it actually ruptured. We agreed timely because of the necessity here that it needs to be fixed. So that's what this is.
And this will not be taken out of tax dollars. This is will come out of the restricted fund. There's a restricted fund for the animal shelter.
Right.
The
That comes out of
maintenance of
that,
the building.
that comes out of that fund.
Yes.
So, I got a motion?
Which I'm gonna take a step forward in all of this and applaud you for that.
For what?
I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. When
Wow.
all of this started, you were very specific about wanting to have that separate fund for the rents of the building, go into that fund to cover instances like this, so it did not come directly out of my operating budget. Because we knew things were gonna happen like this.
Right.
You knew things were gonna happen.
Well, I knew in advance what you were going into. That's unfortunately.
And I did not,
Yeah, but, no,
as
that
far as
fund,
building wise.
that was actually set up, I'm not gonna take credit for that, because that
No,
originally was,
restricted fund, I get,
Yeah.
but you were, let's get this to an amount to make sure that we can cover if anything goes down.
Mhm.
So I just want to give credit where credit is due. Because if this had to come out of my operating budget, it would kill us. We would not be able to sustain.
I think we all recognize that. Anytime you shut down a facility like that, and we're not really, things have changed, who shut it down and who started it back up. We don't know how thorough it was shut down. You know, we were fearful of pipes that froze and busted because the heat system had been neglected, not ran to keep the facility up. So that creates
Issues.
potential issues, and that's why bringing it back up. And I remember with the boiler system up there, someone had just tore it apart and there it laid. So it was somewhat of a challenge too, but we got her back up and running.
Yeah,
without
it's the
spending
same
money
thing
on it.
like with the roof.
Right.
And
Give it the price.
contacting the roofing company, which was under warranty still yet, and the outdoor kennel, which was very much needed, where the dogs could run.
That's used.
That's what
That's used daily.
Yep.
That's
That
what-
allows us to get the animals
that's right,
outside,
that's right.
out of their concrete cells
Mhm.
every day.
So I'm not taking credit for that. You just go on. You're doing a good job.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you. The next is,
I think there's a motion out there to approve.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I second it.
I'm sorry.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Frederick's bill for repair of the water heater, or actually replacement is what it is. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next one.
So the next gremlin that decided to show its ugly little head was one of our AC units. And it's the AC unit that feeds our isolation area for the dogs, and then part of isolation for the kittens, and several rooms down the hallway. That's how there's 3 handlers in that building, and how they divided them is, I don't know, but that's how that AC unit handles. I seen that it was struggling. We changed the filters. I changed the filters. I actually called Greg Hendershot in, and he looked at it, and he's the one that told me to call Valley. So I called Valley and I said, can you just service all of my units and see what's going on? This one appears to be struggling. It's not keeping up. And we're just not moving air. It's because the part is gone. So he priced a new part for, it's a Linux system. He priced that part for that system, and that came back at $8,500. Just the part. So he said, we're not gonna go that route, and I said, thank you. He said, we can put another, not a Linux, but it's another brand, but it will retrofit into that system.
Mhm.
He took measurements. So that's what the 3250 quote is for. It's not to replace the whole system. So when he made that quote, I said, well, what's it gonna cost for a new system? I mean, we're talking this for a part. And he mentioned, he goes, the system's not, he goes, so I said, I need both quotes.
Mhm.
Please give me, and so this is what you have today. I
Yes.
didn't get other quotes from mainly because Greg Hendershot, who does maintenance,
Mhm.
this is who he uses. And this is who he told me to call.
So the 6580 would be for the new unit and everything.
It's for a new unit and them to put it in and them to take the old unit out and haul it off.
That old unit was probably,
He,
long
Adam
old.
with Valley said that unit is well into 20 years old. Now, I'm not an HVAC person. I don't know the life of these units. But I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
You probably don't know if it's a heat pump, do you? Probably is electric strip heat in the existing one,
No, it's,
It's an air handler and electric heater.
but is it a heat pump? I know he's pricing a heat pump, but I don't know whether the existing one's a heat pump or not.
so we just get heat though. We just get, we don't get heat through that. We get heat through
The
the
floor,
floor, through the boiler in those areas.
So that wouldn't
So I don't
That would
see,
connect into the air conditioning, Randy.
I think it's just an AC air handler unit.
okay, so if it's AC only, you don't need a heat pump. And see, he's quoting a heat pump. Says
Well,
right there,
then that should lower the quote.
it says a 4-ton heat pump. And what a heat pump does is it will cool and heat both,
Mhm.
rather than just a freestanding 4-ton air conditioner,
It's dual.
if that's all it's doing. So,
Because the heat, that's in the heat AC is in the office area. The other two that's in the back, in the maintenance room where the boiler is, I was under the assumption that those are AC unit air handlers
only.
only.
And that's where this is gonna be,
Correct.
in the back.
Here's my,
I'm gonna check with him
here's my
now.
suggestion though. If you get us another quote or two, I mean, we need to do that just, to make sure that we have something to back up our decision and confirm that whether it actually needs to be a heat pump or whether it's just an air conditioning unit, if that's all it's utilized for. The heat comes to the floor, then we don't need a heat pump.
I don't see why we would need a heat pump with that.
Right.
Unit.
So it'll be less expensive if you don't have a heat pump,
That's what you quoted us.
so.
I mean, I wonder if he saw a heat pump in there
And
when he took
assume
the
that that
panel off.
was,
Or you won't know, it's the outside unit. And it
Oh, it's
rever-
outside,
It
okay.
reverses itself, brings heat in versus when it's cooling. It
Okay.
just runs backwards.
So let me check on that. I'll get 2 more quotes. Do you have recommendations on who I get the quotes from?
We wouldn't touch that with
With a 10-year quote? I understand. Smart. And then the last thing I have, I'm reporting my quarterly financials with profit and loss. I will say one thing, we greatly appreciate the increase in the contract. It has certainly helped.
Mhm.
As you can see, by our vet expenses, they have they've blown our budget out of the water. I budget for $1,500 a month. In January, we were almost at 36. And it was unexpected emergent expenses. And some of those unexpected emergent expenses, unfortunately, were animals in our county, not in the shelter. And that's just what we have to do. So, we'll find a way, we'll make it up. I think we're doing pretty good if you look at the bottom line, considering what all we have going on.
We're getting there.
We are getting there.
Just remember, we're closer today than we were when we started. So that's the main goal.
Because of good management.
I hear things, and I think that we've made great strides from day one to where we are now. And we can continue to do that. We just have to stay focused. And we have to keep continuing to be creative and get it out in the community.
That's what every small community has to do.
And I think you have a lot of support from community also. I mean, people are so happy that animal shelter's open again and in operation.
Well, that's what we want to be. We want to make a mark.
And you have.
And be a staple in the community. Going and rescuing dogs at night and all. So, any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank you.
everything you all do.
Thank you. You all have a great day.
You too.
You too. And I love your paper clips.
You like-
If everybody hadn't seen these, they're dog bones.
Next item on our agenda is the animal ordinance. Charlie Baumeister.
Good morning.
morning.
I'm Charlie Baumeister, and I am a member of the Gray County Animal Welfare Board. We've been working with commissioners for a year and a half or longer on this ordinance, trying to get it passed throughout the county. I did have the opportunity to meet with Sheriff Malone and Chief Lou Allen to go over this to see if they had any concerns. And after the meeting, I think it went very well. There are only two things that I have to bring up. One I think is very an easy fix, and the other one may take a little time. Throughout the ordinance, it talks about an animal control officer. Everything's based on an animal control officer. I would like to see in the definition on animal control officer, we have / law enforcement officer. That gives the law enforcement officer the same authority as the animal control officer, because we do not have an animal control officer. We don't know when or if we'll ever have an animal control officer. And I'm glad the attorney is here to see if that is an easy, to me, I think it's an easy fix.
My concern would be they would need to be properly trained. I wouldn't want to subject a police officer to an issue with an animal without any of the tools, any of the training, any of the, I just.
But as of right now, we have no one
I know.
that can enforce
I know
this
it's not a good,
if we
I got it.
But one thing also remember, each department is supposed to designate a animal officer. The
Is
sheriff's
that
department.
part of the ordinance?
No, that's state law.
Okay.
That's been in effect, Alan, how long? Yeah. So they should have.
They should
an
already be
officer.
trained and.
Right, well, I know Derek spoke about the officer he had. He's going to have to name a new one, but that officer went to some animal control training.
Okay.
So that's in my mind, because that was one of the things Derek brought up about, it talks about animal control officer, and we don't have one. I just thought in the definition, we could go animal control officer / law
Or
enforcement
designate,
officer.
or a designee, whatever in case, because you may
Yeah,
want to have
something like
someone
that.
outside of that.
That's what I was going to turn over, to let you.
I think that'd be
Look
easy
into
fix.
that.
Charlie, do you have any idea how much schooling, how much it costs to send an animal control officer to school?
Not with me, but over in my office I do, because there's a young man that's trying to get on the Animal Welfare Board that sent me a budget for an animal control officer for salary, training, and the whole 9 yards. It's very detailed. I did not bring it with me because I didn't know that subject would come up, but I can get that information to you.
Okay,
All
that
right.
would be a start.
The second one that really, I think it bothers me the most with my past law enforcement experiences. In the ordinance, it says that the Animal Welfare Board has the right, after due process, of determining an animal is dangerous and needs to be put down. It ends there. Doesn't say who's going to pick up the animal, who's going to pay for the euthanization and the burial. So I think that's another point that we need to address and try to come up with a solution. You know, we put a lot of things on Molly, and I think the world of Molly, and it's great working with her, but she is not animal control. But she goes out and picks up these animals. She had an incident where she had an animal picked up that had bitten twice, and before she released the animal, it had to be fixed. She took it to the vet, and the animal attacked the vet and had to be put down. And it ended up in her expense.
Yeah, I think in the past, we had a animal that was required to do that. I think it came through the health department. I believe the sanitarian is the one that contacted us about a pit bull that was attacking the neighbors and that, and I believe it was euthanized. I suspect you could try to hold the owner responsible and in most cases not get paid. But I think the health department through the county ended up paying for that. Am I right or wrong?
It came out of her
It came
funding.
out of your budget, okay.
So
I know we had one that.
And how much is your budget a year, Charlie?
5,000, and that's where I was going to approach you to say, could we set aside a special line item out of our budget to help in that situation?
Is that a reverting? It stays,
Uh,
so in other words, you could carry it through from year to year.
No, sorry, it's not reverting. It's within the,
So-
it's within your
do you have
budget.
any idea what it costs to put an animal down?
Molly?
It goes on weight,
Mhm.
so the animal that we're speaking of was like $108.
Mhm.
And then we cremate.
Mhm.
Groberg cremates. I'm not gonna bring the animal back and bury it.
Mhm.
So what that whole package cost on the pit bull total? Do you have just a rough idea? By the time you euthanized, cremated?
Cremated,
Yes,
it was like $220.
about $220, okay.
So,
And that's with my discount.
so at our next meeting, I'm gonna make a motion that we reimburse the shelter for that.
What's your $5,000?
Well, but I just
I
wanna
think it's,
make,
I think
I
it's
just wanna
valid.
make sure that we're
Because
okay
it's
with
really
that.
valid.
Last
You're
year
doing
too.
that.
You did that last year.
Well,
Yeah.
we donated money to the
The
shelter
money that was left.
for expenses.
Mhm.
And, but I'd like to, if we could, have a line item in those situations where if we declare an animal dangerous and it has to be put down, and if Molly's willing to take it to the vet, it's either that or we
I
look
will
for,
always be willing to take it to the vet.
Okay, so that,
I will always be willing
Okay.
to take it
The
to the vet.
situation we have is with that is that it's just one simple line item within yours, animal welfare, 5,000.
Right.
It's, there's no
There's no-
breakdown
yeah.
of that,
because
so.
I know they bought cat bowls or something one year with it, or toys or whatever, I can't remember. Andrew, my only question is, do they have the authority to make a ruling against that, or does that have to go back to the health department? You know, in the event they do that, who has the jurisdiction on determining a dog needs to be euthanized?
Well, it can be under different statutes. So I think that the way the ordinance is supposed to read is that if they find it dangerous, they have an authority through our ordinance to euthanize.
So once
But
this ordinance is passed, then they would be granted that authority.
there's a due process. We
Yeah,
have
have
to,
a due
we
process.
have to have a hearing with the owner,
Right.
go over it. And, you know, one of the big things, and Molly and I have discussed this, you know, when do you decide a dog's dangerous? When it bites the very first time, the second time, the third time? I think each case is individually, because the first case could be very dangerous. I mean, a child could get mauled. At that time, that animal needs to be decided, but we have to follow due process. We, you know, and speaking with Kim with the health department, she doesn't feel comfortable making that decision.
I know, I'm sure she'd like to get rid of that.
Well, and we've talked about what we would do with, set up a situation if we get this report of a dog bite, that the board would meet within 72 hours of the report, invite the owner of the animal, discuss it, make a decision.
I would at sometimes have some kind of language in there, because here's just my fear, as you state that. We have an animal that we're maybe going through a custody issue with, and then as a vindictive spouse might say, well, the dog bit so-and-so. And then you'll find yourself in these situations where there needs to be some type of clear action by the dog that warrants this hearing, so that you don't
Right.
find yourself into multiple hearings over what may be non-events. So I'd watch that.
The thing that works for us, Randy, though, is if the dog bites, it's reported to the health department, it's automatically quarantined for 10 days,
Right.
either at the home or at the shelter. So we have that 10-day span there where we can actually go back on other records to see, is this the first time event? So that would be the two sticking points. I think the first one's easy. The second one,
I don't think it's difficult either.
do you, well, I'm just asking, do you want the Animal Welfare Board to come up with the plan on how to pay for it out of that funding? We're
Line item
we're
or-
very in favor of it.
Yeah, I mean, they have the 5,000 already allocated.
Yes,
So they want to take a portion of that money and set it
put it
aside.
on line item for,
Yeah.
or for,
And that would be within your budget, not
Right.
within the county budget.
Right.
Right.
We would set a budget.
I don't have a problem with that.
No. I mean, that's the reason it's kind of a big round number to begin with.
Right,
It gives them the flexibility to
correct.
use that money for what they feel.
I think it's a good
Right.
idea.
And also to reimburse
Yeah.
Molly for.
The only question is,
Any.
how are the other government units? Are they okay with where you're at on this ordinance?
We had decided to talk to law enforcement. Now I'm going back to the
Okay.
units.
So if nothing else, if you want to make these minor modifications, then, because the ideal goal is consistency throughout the
That's
county.
exactly right, exactly
It would
right.
just be like an amendment to, of the.
Right.
The
So what
current
we have are proposed already,
The current-
we'll amend
policy. Yeah.
this paper, then I will present it to Hamilton, Troy, and Tell City. Tell City and Troy had already given me the okay,
Okay.
that they were fine with the wordage. Just remember, theirs won't be word for word, this ordinance, because in this ordinance outlines our animal, which is a county animal welfare
Mhm.
board. They'll have it in there that they have a representative, but our main concern is the enforcement part,
Mhm.
that everybody's on the same page on the enforcement.
You can't do anything unless it's enforced. Why have it if it's not enforced? And how did Council feel about this?
They're fine. They're right now in panic stage because of cats. I am meeting with them at their next council meeting to try to come up with,
Isn't that today?
no, it's next Monday, I think. So that'll be another interesting. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks for what you do.
Next one up, Steve.
I have a couple of different things. I'm asking for additional appropriation, $398,850. This is the money we received from NDOT. Carolyn sent you a thing on that. I left mine at the garage, if you go. I didn't have all my ducks in a row this morning,
When did you send it?
Thursday.
Oh, because I probably got it with the stuff to be advertised on the 12th, because those go to the commissioners.
I'm just asking your guys' approval on that. We have to appropriate before we can, I got the purchase order. Bill Thursday, and I can
What's it
voice from
at?
NDOT.
What's it, what is it again?
It's for community crossing, sir.
What fund? The matching?
Yeah.
Is that the matching fund? So we're
It's
just,
a 2020, it was the second one for last year, Leopold, Mount Pleasant Road. Their share of that.
And you're paying the extra out of your own funds you had elsewhere.
Right.
This is just our matching portion of it.
that we received from NDOT.
This is our community crossings money that we received.
Yes.
This is not, this wasn't even county money. You should have receipted it in the fall.
So you're, okay, so that's what I'm saying, we've already received it in, you're just asking permission now?
You must get it over into
Okay.
his account.
We just got the money here. They just got the coin this last week, I think it was, there's a notification on
Of the 398.
Yes, we just got that.
Okay, so it just needs to be transferred into the proper
it. Yeah,
account,
it just needs
so
to
you
be
can pay the
appropriated.
asphalt contractor when the.
How
time
much
comes.
was that for, Steve?
$398,850.
That's what we
Put that
awarded
check
in
on
the
there.
fall. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, yeah. And he just needs to get it into his account
So we just need
to
to
pay it.
Steve always takes the extra step of coming here, I always put it with the count.
You know,
Yeah.
I'd like to let you guys, keep you guys up on it.
Do we have to make a motion on that, Randy?
I don't have a problem with making it. I mean, it's gonna be, they're gonna have to appropriate it, but it's.
It'll be advertised on the 12th and then approved at the council meeting.
Okay.
Let's make a motion to transfer the 398,000.
I'll make a motion.
Second that?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's done. What else you got?
On Albany Road, I was contacted Thursday by Derek Vogel from Wapaka. There's a slide down there on the end of the road right before you get to the Forest Service portion of the road. Nobody has any property there but the Forest Service in Wapaka. And they have an agreement when this was closed. I made sure they had an agreement where they had access to that. But this slid a couple of years ago. I asked the Forest Service, they asked if we could fix it. Well, it's another 100 yards and it's Forest Service property then. And I asked them if we could use some of the dirt there to help fix it, to get it passable, and they said no. So.
They want us to fix it, but they won't let us use the dirt.
Is this out by Derby? Is this where we are?
No, this is out by Gatchel, going into the top side of Saddle Lake. But anyway, Wapaka wants to fix this road up at their expense. It won't cost us anything. They said they would put the bill on all of it, fixing the slide. And they're working with the Forest Service. Apparently the Forest Service is working with them to get it back repaired.
This is out by Gatchel.
Yes, that dead end road by, it goes to the northern loop of Saddle Lake down there. It used to go to the, they call it Coldest Hollow.
Yeah, I've called this hollow. I know where it's at.
It used to be a big sawdust spot down
Yep.
there. We closed it at the creek a few years ago because they wanted us to put a bridge in there. And I told them we couldn't put it in there. There's nobody living back here.
No.
And it's a dead end road, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a waste of money.
The other end of it comes out up there before the Playmore was,
Playmore Speedway.
they made that entrance there a few years ago. If they ever needed to go in that way, they have access.
I mean, if they're working with the Forest Service and.
Yeah. That's not asphalt.
No.
It's gravel. Yeah.
Gravel road,
That's what I thought.
one lane.
Yeah.
It's
I'm in the, I know where you're at. That's what I was thinking. It's, I didn't hardly think it was much of a road at all. So it's actually slid now.
Yeah, slid a couple of years ago. Maybe
Okay.
3.
What is
So-
the purpose of it if no one lives back there?
Well, right now it's just access to the Forest Service and Wapaka's access to their property they have down there.
And my understanding is, I think at one time they were considering putting a monofill or something in that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, they talked.
And then they found another source and so it
That's why
just,
they put the entrance up there on 37.
Right.
My understanding. that
Right.
they
and they're just
ever
wanting
did.
to maintain the roads that
Yeah, I
stays
guess
in
they have to go in
existence.
and inspect it a couple times a year, check things out.
Okay. And they're gonna bear the burden to do this,
So
so,
they would put the bill
I
for all of
mean,
it.
that's great.
I don't see any problem with it.
Not in the environmental plan. But I understand what you're talking about and what it is. The state has, because it was deemed potential landfill site. We have monitoring there. The state has to have access.
I think you probably have it permitted, don't you, Gary? I think they
It's
went
just
through the
saying,
whole,
we don't landfill.
you don't
anything
use it,
anymore.
it's just
No,
been
we don't
permitted.
landfill anything anymore. It's all used
Right.
secondary.
But they don't even want to let us use their dirt, correct?
They didn't when I asked a couple of years ago.
So,
It's not surprising.
I'd entertain a motion to allow that to occur, let the foundry work it out with the Forest Service to keep maintaining the road so they can access the,
I make a motion.
I second that.
all those in favor?
I think that's all I
Anything
have.
else?
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
did you get your regeneration? Is it on the grader you having trouble with? Did you? I read your bill, that's why I know what's going on.
Filter?
Yeah.
We got the filter back. They called this morning and said they got the wrong filter.
So they sent you the wrong filter?
No, they got it at Louisville.
Who got the wrong filter?
Rockle.
Okay,
See, we've been sending our filters there to get them clean.
okay,
We've always had really good luck, and then the service got where it wasn't so good here a few months ago. They sent us to Texas. Our grader wasn't, a new grader wasn't, was having problems with it.
right.
So we sent the filters up there and said they would need clean, so we sent them up there. They sent it back, and it was broke when we got it back, so they took it back again. And they sent it to Texas. They put a new element in again. They sent it to Texas. Well, they sent it to us first, and it wasn't run right, so we called CAT up there, and they said that filter is not right. So we took it back to Rockwell again. They sent it to Texas 3 weeks ago, got it back, and now they said they couldn't find nothing wrong with it. So Rockwell said, we don't know if it's a sensor somewhere, but CAT has checked all that and says there's nothing wrong. They say it's a filter. So he says, the only thing I can do is order the filter element out of Canada and get the frame back from Texas and put it in there and see if that fixes it. So we called this morning. They said, well, they sent us the wrong one. We're supposed to have the right one tomorrow.
So your
So I don't
graders,
know if we're ever gonna get that right.
Is this this is all under warranty on that new?
Yeah. there's
That's what I thought.
No expense to us, but our grader's been down.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, grader, you can't.
at a time when your roads are. in
Yeah, you
trouble.
We need it.
Right.
So I think we're gonna start going to CAT and just paying the price and buying new elements from now on. I asked Rockwell, I said, what's the deal with this? Your service used to be great. He said, well, we got too big. We got so many customers in the Midwest that we don't have regular routes anymore. We got too many customers. That's the way you got one less when this is done with.
Well, it's just like the bill, to Caterpillar, for them to come out and
Oh,
troubleshoot.
You're
I mean,
talking about
that's-
$1,000 every time they come up there.
Yeah, at least. Yours was more than that. And we still don't have a
They've been
grader.
up there 2 or 3 times. Troubleshooting, trying to figure out what's wrong with it. So hopefully, we'll get going again one of these days.
All right, we need that grader.
Yeah, we need it.
We sure do.
All right,
Thank
Do
you.
y'all have any questions on Carrollton Road while I'm up here?
Carrollton, no. What is on Carrollton Road?
That's the one that they wanted to close last year. I talked to the guy that petitioned to have it closed. He's, lives
Yeah, the one in Liverpool?
no, he lives up in Indianapolis, Greenfield, I believe it is. But he wanted to have it closed. He said he never received anything from the county
Oh,
to have
okay.
it closed. So this Munier, after this guy asked to have it closed, this Munier bought this property there. He doesn't
He
want it
doesn't want
closed.
it closed.
So if he don't want it closed, then as far as I'm concerned, it's a closed matter, you know, I mean, it's
Right.
still
Well,
county.
the way I feel
Still
about
county
something
road.
like that on these roads, if you've got 25 people that want to close a road and one that don't, you can't.
You can't close it.
No, it has to be a mutual
so that
agreement.
just never, he came in and I remember talking to us and it was a road that was a dead end again, or it had a bridge
Yeah.
at the end of it or something. It wasn't being traveled. And he was wanting to close it off.
He was wanting to
Because he
close the
wanted-
section.
Yeah, so that the public didn't keep coming down that because they thought it was a public road. And I remember we went through this discussion and then I don't remember,
I called, finally found the records and called both of them and talked to both of them.
Mhm.
The one guy that wanted to close it would still like to close it, but he said, I know, he said, if I get the other guy to agree to put up a gate, and he have a key also, he said, then we'll come back again and ask.
but as of right now, we leave it alone.
The Munier says he doesn't.
Because he wants it open. Yeah.
He wants a culvert. Okay, while you're here,
Right.
where are you putting in a 7-foot diameter culvert, 30-foot long?
Goosetown.
Where's
Well, that's
Goosetown?
not- that's
I
not
know where
right.
that's at. I lived on Goosetown.
What is the name of that? Trumpet? It ain't Trumpet. I don't know
Goosetown.
the new name. I can't remember. It's Goosetown Road, dead ends off of 66 there, go Rocky Point, go toward Rome. It's in that one sharp curve that goes back in there and dead ends.
And it's that big?
And that's
I know the one he's talking about.
the first one on the road in the curve, in the sharp curve.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When the water was up, it started falling off there, and they got to looking, when the water went down, the bottom's out of it, it's making a narrow place in the road, so we
Mm-hmm.
ain't got much choice but to replace it.
Okay. Anything else? Thanks, Steve.
All right, thank you, guys.
Now, this is my item. This is gonna get you, Chris.
It's not
In,
done yet, is it?
in our minutes, as we read through those, which we're gonna be asked to approve, my assumption is you're also gonna go to the council to approve.
Correct.
Where our discussion on, it was April the 10th, and we had our joint meeting. And at the end of the minutes, Chris was going to meet with the jail and go through some of the spending things. And I was just trying to get an update where that is. And before the meeting, I asked her, and she said she hasn't done that yet.
I've
So-
not met with the jail yet. Basically, I don't think anything on the commissioner's end because is there. You guys adopt the edit plan, which gives the revenue to the jail. The issue we have now is the fact that the budget that was adopted for the last 2 years has been in excess of the revenue that's coming in. So, what needs to happen is a discussion of how we're gonna address that. So I did say at the meeting that I would get with the jail and start the conversation. But in the end, it's gonna be the council where they need to make sure that we're not adopting a budget that is in excess of the revenue. Because
Don't
those,
spend more than what you got.
correct. So, yes, I will make sure that's on my agenda for this week to start that conversation with the jail. And then hopefully have some answers and information for the council at the meeting on the 22nd for us to address that. I know that my accounts payable deputy and we have not moved any money from 1112. I've spoke with her and advised her to make sure that with the new funds that have been created, with the money from that the revenue from 2025 is going into, that we don't overspend on those funds. Because right now, all they've got in the new funds is the revenue from 2025. There's no remaining, the previous revenue from 1112 has not been moved to the new funds. So we're watching both those closely, which honestly, the only funds that have expenses are the economic development, which we're good there. The highway, which we're watching to make sure there, and then the jail, which we're closely watching. So, yes. So hopefully I'll have more information for you.
So it brings me to my next question. According to our minutes, 133,000 roughly has been spent out of there in the first 3 months. And then I noticed we've got multiple payments coming out of 4927 that we're going to approve here shortly. So with the jail only receiving out of edit fund currently around 23,000, how are you paying for that much expenditure out of that account? I mean, how does that, because if we had 4 months in there, let's say even at 25, we'd have 100,000. If they already spent 133, plus we've got not additional money, but we're going to approve the accounts payable here shortly. So how are you spending in excess of 100,000?
I've instructed Kimberly that 4927, they can only spend the cash that's in there. We can't run it negative. They still have to pay their bills. They still have to do this. I can't not pay the bills.
Okay, so
The issue that we're going to have to address is the negative balance in 1112, which was from the over excess spending in 2024 and the 3 months, 4 months of there. We were at a negative total there.
but in 2025, they had spent $133,000 out of edit.
And they only receive 274 a year.
Right.
Correct.
And now we're still spending out of that fund for the month of April, correct?
4927, not 112.
So, I mean, if you transferred 25's money to the 4927,
Some of that should have made up for the
You spent-
133.
yeah, but it's spent well beyond. Yeah, you're gonna be spending, you're probably 50,000 or
I get
better,
it.
60,000 in the red. So my question is, does that account reflect a negative balance? And then where's that money coming from?
Are you talking about 1112 or are you talking
No,
about
I'm talking about
4927?
the 4927.
4927 is not negative right now, but you have where,
So how did you get the 133,000 to pay the first 3 months' bills? Where'd that money come
because
from?
it was paid out of 1112, and Fund 1112 was a big pie piece of a lot of different, and the budget that was adopted by the council allowed them to spend that money.
So you took 133,000 out of 1112, which is the big pool of all the funds, and paid that in 2025, and then you
I
transferred
couldn't move the one.
4 months of 23,000 into 4927?
We couldn't move, that's why I was trying to get figured out what we
Maybe
need to
she's
move
coming.
back. Yes, thank you,
If she hears
Kimberly.
So in 4927, right now, the cash balance is $49,506.22.
Okay, so how do we get there? 49 what?
And
506.
49,506.22.
Okay.
And then with the claims that we are looking at to approve, they total 40,809.57. So I figured we were okay, but if we if
The
we're
issue,
having
what
to
he's,
look at-
what he's pointing out, which is a valid point, he paid $133,000 worth of claims out of 1112.
Right.
The only reason we're figuring this, not the only reason, but figuring out that it's negative is because we were separating that money.
Right.
And then it was basically discovered that the revenue for the portion of the lit and edit for jail, the revenue's 247. But the budget that was approved by the council for this year was $398,023. So we budgeted more than what we're bringing in. Same thing last year, the income was changed to only receiving the revenue of 274, but the approved budget was 307,000 and something. So, but the visual of not being able to see that is because when you reported everything to the Department of Local Government, you reported lit as a whole, which adds all those pie pieces together, and your revenue to expenditures was higher, but when you break them down, they're not. And I see what you're saying is that we paid $133,000 of 2025 out of 1112, which Fund 1112, but then the revenue from 2025 is going into 4927. So as the census, what I brought to you guys is that we have a negative portion of the jail in 1112 that is 100 with last year's ending negative balance and the 133, which totals like 176.
Whatever,
Yes.
that's, I'm just looking at 25 now. And see, the question becomes, because the edit has been collected as one pool, that means that Steve's highway money is in there,
Right.
okay? The economic development is in there, the jail money's in there, the security money's in there, our building maintenance fund money's in there, along with our special projects. So it's all in that pool. So the pool has enough money.
Correct.
But if you're gonna overspend in some category,
Right.
some other entity, when we start cutting the pie up, it's gonna come up with a smaller slice.
And I see this, but what I have to understand is, I mean, I'll do what I'm saying, but my job is to make sure the budget that the council approved is put into play. So the budget needs to be adjusted. I can't tell the jail, I can't pay your bills. So, because right now they have an approved adjustment or they have approved appropriation. So that's what needs to be adjusted is the budget.
But you keep paying it out of an account I mean, we're gonna hit the wall here in July. And everything in the edit money will have been spent.
That's what happens when you cut funding. I mean, you cut funding, but yet you got, the edit plan was adopted, and I'm just telling the facts. The edit plan was adopted and funding was changed in January of 2024. The budget, okay, so let's talk 2024. In 2023, the edit plan expired. You guys approved a new edit plan in January of 2024, which actually you approved one at the end of December.
We
You changed, you amended.
Yeah, we amended the plan in 2023.
Yep.
Reason we did it, because we added in the account for building maintenance.
Correct.
That was 23.
But that was not
Those were based
considered.
upon percentages.
But what you have to understand too, is you've got two different pieces. You've got the commissioners doing the edit plan, but then you've got the council doing the budget. The council did the budget in October of 2023 and approved the jail to spend $307,000. Yes, is an oversight that, I didn't see, the council didn't see, that, hey, we approved $307,000 to be spent, but only $274 is being brought in. That was a simple oversight. I think that the reason for that oversight is because of the big pie piece, because when you look at the Form 4B, it puts everything together and you don't realize it. And plus, I also feel too, there's just too much going on at budget season. But anyway, it's budget session. But that's where we're at, that you've got that. So, and then we turn around in 2024 and the edit plan, again, the revenue for 2025 is going to be $274,000 and some, but a budget that was adopted by the council is $398,023. Where am I supposed to be at? I brought that to the council, I brought that to the commissioner's attention, but how can I not pay the bills? When technically I have an approved budget of $398,000. So I'm stuck here. I'm trying to figure it out. And now it's just, I like I said, I will meet with the jail and we will try and look at other areas to move expenditures. But hopefully we've learned that, and my office has talked that on our, something we're going to add to the budget sheets for each thing is the estimated revenue up at the top. We trying to do things better to eliminate these problems, but like I said, I will help and I will take some ownership of it, but there are 7 other council members that adopted a budget that exceeded the revenue.
So you're spending another $40,800.
$40,809.57 on the budget today out of $49.27.
Okay, so in other words, we're roughly up to $174,000. So we have $100,000 left in edit funds according to the edit plan as of the end of April, correct?
And what we need to do is talk to the jail to find out, hey, are these recurring costs? Are these,
Yep.
And that's.
Who's gonna do that?
I will.
Good. All right, that's what I wanted to know, because I wanted to bring some clarity to that, because it seems like we're gonna drive the car into the ditch here one of these days, and nothing's been done.
Right.
So, and
But we have to fund the jail. I do want to say this too. I mean, we have to fund it. And if maybe we should have at budget time, which is an oversight, we should have communicated to the jail and it was just an oversight. There were a lot of people involved, but we shouldn't have set a budget for over $274,000.
Yeah, I think if we looked at how much the expenditures were, and this is what you were gonna check on, we were running nearly cost $2 million this year, which is substantially more than we've ever spent before at the jail. So what's going on there, I don't know. But look into that too while you're there.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Kimberly, you want to go ahead and get with Katie and start? Yes, please.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, now we're up to the minutes. We have the minutes for the meeting from 4/7/2025. That was our regular meeting.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion.
Second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We have the minutes to accept from 4/10/2025, which was our joint meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve as commissioners.
Yes, it'll go to the council as
Yeah.
well.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes from 4/15/2025, which was a special meeting we called simply to approve the road contract to move that process along.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have our regular meeting, which was 4/21/2025.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is Dossett Consulting 2023 reimbursement in the amount of $52,417.62. And do we need a motion to accept that money?
No, I just wanted to inform you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
All right, I was thinking,
Yeah.
we're going to accept it anyway.
Yeah, our indirect identified, I work with Dossett Consulting to do our indirect cost, and it's kind of done. We work on it in 23 and 24, and then we receive it in 25. So it's kind of like a 2-year process. And the amount total that we came to was $79,420.64, and we get a reimbursement of 66%, which is the $52,417.62. If you guys look at the history that I gave you last year for 2022, we received $47,015.10. In 2021, we received $35,403.06. And in 2020, we received $18,056.28. So as you can see, that is
This is a 23 reimbursement, correct?
23 reimbursement, yes.
Okay.
And where are those funds deposited?
They are broke down between the 4D funds.
Everyone, okay.
Yeah. And then going into the next thing with the Dossett contract, typically for the last 3 years, we've paid $3,000, and that comes out of the 52, or the reimbursement indirect. We do have a new contract that I sent you guys. Of course, just like everything else, it's going up. If we stay on the same plan and do the 3-year contract, it will be $4,700 a year.
That did go up, didn't it?
Mhm.
17.
But if we go on a yearly, it'll be 52. So,
So do we need to say,
They're knocking 10% off. I mean, it's basically,
yeah,
this is why we do all these motions and everything. And
do
then,
you want to go with a 3-year or?
I don't know,
why we wouldn't?
there's I don't think there's a other firm that would come in and do it for
I'll
less.
make a motion.
I second that.
We have a
For a
motion and a
3-year.
second to
For 3 years.
renewal on a 3-year contract. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item up is the payroll for 4/25/2025 in the amount of $194,302.02.
Make a motion.
I second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is for 4/22/2025 payroll withholding in the amount of $41,462.78.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next item is the payroll for 5/09/2025 in the amount of $199,249.88.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
And payroll withholding for 5/09/2025 in the amount of $42,891.65.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Health claims in the amount of $128,305.51.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question here. How do we handle health claims in jail? Is that built into our county, or is there a separate process? Gotcha.
Yeah, I know.
Just curious, as I went through this. Dental claims in the amount of $130.61.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Vision claims, the amount of $139.31.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Life insurance claims in the amount of $1,644.40.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Sheriff pension for the second quarter in the amount of $38,050.25.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
BMV in the amount of $75.
I have a question on it. What is that?
That is actually, Kelly paid that, so it came through out of there. She took care of that, relicensing the plates for the sheriff, but it's out of the sheriff, budget. But it wasn't on the claim docket because Kimberly paid it, or because Kelly paid it to Kimberly.
That's for which vehicle?
Let's see if Kelly can bring that, because I don't know that off the top of my head.
Let's skip that one.
Okay. Skip it.
Solid waste claims in the amount of $12,376.93.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
Accounts payable docket in the amount of $432,416
Come over.
and 23 cents. It's for 5/5/2025.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, while we wait on Kelly, we have the ditch project 2025.
Yes, I worked with Steve and his supervisors. Basically just want to let the community know that the highway department will be working on ditches to kind of help our county roads with the drainage problems. Will we get to them all? Probably not, but it's definitely a good start on some of these roads. We're just asking for the public to work with us if they're contacted with drainage issues on their property. They need to work with us and take care of their problems also, so we can make sure everything goes smoothly with this.
Are you good with all this, Steve, on the roads? Okay, good.
This is an excellent idea. Water kills us in the wintertime.
Yes.
If it can't get away from the road because the ditches have grown up and it doesn't drain,
Doesn't have
it
anywhere to go.
causes us a tremendous amount of problems.
Mhm.
And thanks, Pam, for working this through.
Absolutely.
All right,
There's
yeah.
several roads, it looks like to me.
Yep, there's a bunch.
Hard to find a gravel road that don't need this.
Correct.
Beg pardon?
It's hard to find a gravel road that don't need.
That's correct. That's correct.
The $75. That's
It's
the
for
question.
the title transfers for the sheriff's office for the vehicles that were
From
purchased
Sternberg.
lease.
That whenever they came off lease, then you had to transfer them to the
Okay.
sheriff, or probably the commissioners is what you did with.
Since they had came through as the sheriff, we had to transfer them to the sheriff.
To the sheriff's department.
Yes,
How are
they're
they
still the
insured?
county, but it's all, I mean, we have titles for all departments, so they're all still insured
Okay.
under the commissioners.
Just so we
of the
haven't
county.
done something.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because $75 don't seem like you could title a bicycle for that anymore.
Yeah, each one is $15 application fee to
Okay.
transfer the title, so.
Okay.
But
That's,
And it was paid out of, what line item? Wasn't it out of the location of 005? Because I remember looking at that.
And that was paid out of the commissioners.
Okay.
And then you put it in the sheriff's name? He did all right today, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, they had to be, we tried to put him, or we were gonna put him in the commissioners, but looking at the paperwork that came from Sternberg, we'd have to have everything changed over again, so we just did it, sheriff.
I'll make a motion in on that.
Second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, that pretty well does it for today. Our next meeting is going to be Tuesday, May 20th at 2025 at 6 p.m. So,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve, if you could come here just a second,